And we are on, my friends. Welcome to any viewers. We are the sports fans coming live to you today on the 25th day of March. March is almost over, guys.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
That is absolutely bonkers. Anyways, we are coming live to you for anybody watching for the first time. We are the sports fans. A little bit of comedy mixed with a little bit of sports and ultimate fandom. Today we are joined in the studio by me, Kellen Hansen, otherwise known as the Crimson Comet.
We've got me, Brady Fulmer, otherwise known as Lazy Snake.
And I'm Prison Mike.
Yeah. And then lastly, we're going to have to excuse Jason. He may or may not be able to get on the stream today. He has a birthday party for his oldest son, so we'll see if we can get him on, but he is late again. I also know he's actually right now he's just finding reasons to as to why Zach Wilson should not be drafted at all in the NFL draft. He was actually going to be submitting that to ESPN, and I know that it's kind of been an ongoing project for him, so we're gonna have to excuse him. But we're gonna jump right into it with our show. A lot of topics.
I just want to mention I'm feeling pretty powerful tonight because I'm in the top left corner. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. It's kind of weird. I'm used to Kellen right here.
I know. I just figured I'd let you have it. Our balance is thrown off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're going to start things off. I'm actually really excited about this first topic that we have to talk about because it has to do with a certain team that has a red bird and plays the game of football. And that is the Arizona Cardinals. And that is because the Arizona Cardinals have signed former Super Bowl hero. All right, this is a guy who had one of the greatest plays, in my opinion, in NFL history. Certainly one of the most surprising plays. And that is cornerback Malcolm Butler, who was previously with the Titans, the Tennessee Titans. He is now going to be signing with the Cardinals on a one-year contract, worth up to $6 million. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on Malcolm Butler, what you know about him, and how you see him, not just for playing for the Cardinals, but where you see his career at this point in time. We'll start off with Brady.
Okay, I'll start us. So Malcolm Butler, I feel like when he made that play for the Patriots, however many years ago in the Super Bowl, I feel like he was a good cornerback, obviously, because he got in during the Super Bowl, but I feel like he wasn't great. I think he was I don't think he was even a first or second string. I think he would just get in on some packages. But I feel like as his career's gone on since then, I feel like he's gotten better and better. And I believe he was on the Titans this last year. And he was super solid for the Titans. And he's been one of the better, probably not the best, but one of the better corners in the league the last couple of years. So I think it's a great pickup for the Cardinals. They obviously needed a quarterback after having longtime veteran Patrick Peterson leave. So I think it's a great pickup. And I feel like Malcolm Butler still has a lot left in the tank. And if he plays anything like he did last year, I think that he'll be awesome to put in the Cardinals secondary.
Yeah. Mike, do you have any thoughts, my friend?
You probably are going to laugh at me, but is he the guy who played for the Patriots and had that interception against the Seahawks?
Yeah.
Is that why we're saying like the Super Bowl hero? Okay. Good. I'm glad that I remembered that. But I don't know too much about him. I didn't know he played for the Titans, but I guess I'll agree with Brady. I feel like the Cardinals are making some good decisions, especially defensively. They're trying to get that defense built up so they can hopefully have a solid year. And so I think, he'll be a good pickup for him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. One thing I like about Malcolm Butler is kind of like Brady said. It seems like he's just gotten better with time. Last year, he actually had 100 regular season tackles, total tackles, and 4 interceptions. So not only has he shown his ability to make plays in the secondary, but he's also a very sure tackler, which is honestly one thing that I feel like Patrick Peterson in the last couple of years has lacked in. Obviously, Patrick Peterson is, quite possibly a future Hall of Famer, but it just seems like these last couple of years he hasn't been exactly what the Cardinals need. And I feel really confident that Malcolm Butler is actually going to be able to step into that role. And I don't think you're going to see any drop off at all. In fact, I think you might see a little bit of improvement in that Cardinals secondary thanks to him. But yeah, a guy with Super Bowl experience and veteran leadership experience. I'm really excited for this one. Dude, I just want to say, the Arizona Cardinals, these last 2 years have had incredible off seasons. I mean, absolutely phenomenal off seasons. Obviously, picking up DeAndre Hopkins was huge. That's the biggest signing in Arizona Cardinal history. But then we got J.J. Watt, A.J. Green, picked up Isaiah Simmons in the draft last year. I still think he's going to have an opportunity to develop into an absolute stud. And then now, getting a guy like Malcolm Butler, who's maybe not a superstar, but is definitely a solid player who's going to make that defense better. It makes me really excited as a Cardinals fan.
One thing I do feel like, though, is that they have done really well. Just a lot of the contracts are only 1-year deals. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of where the Cardinals either they need to have a good season, or all these guys are not. Some of them might stick around, but they'll lose some of them as well. So you kind of the Cardinals have to play good with what they have right now, or all of the deals and everything they did kind of weren't worth it.
Yeah. The good news is they still got Kyler Murray on his rookie contract. No one knows what's going to happen with Larry Fitzgerald, and I feel like some of the guys that they're bringing in are good replacements for the guys that are leaving. But no, I definitely agree. They're definitely in we want to win now mode rather than we'll win later on.
Which isn't always a bad thing. Being in the we want to win now mode is a good thing as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely I agree with that. I mean, you look at last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they did the exact same thing. They had to go into we want to win now mode once they got Brady. In a couple years, the Buccaneers might not be very good once Tom Brady's gone, because they're gonna had to have sold out to win some Super Bowls, which is it's a little bit difficult to do.
Yeah.
But so we'll move on to our next topic. Get into a little bit of NBA, and this is actually kind of the huge story right now in the sports world, is all the trades that have gone down in the NBA. Mike, why don't you fill us in on kind of, for people that aren't familiar, what is the NBA trade deadline? Why is it so significant, and why is it such a big deal?
Okay, so the NBA trade deadline was today. It ended at 1 p.m. Eastern time. 3 p.m. Eastern time, so 1 o'clock here. And pretty much what it is the league, the NBA as a league, has set a certain date for trades. And so after today, there can be no more trades until the off season, until the finals are over. And the significance of it is you get to play a little bit more than half of a season and kind of gauge where you are as a team and where you are in your conference. And then based on that, you can make trades to try to pick up some people that can help your team make a run into the playoffs, is basically what the purpose of it is.
Look who's here. The bearded wonder.
He showed up.
Sorry. I was feeding my kids pizza.
Oh, it's all good.
Don't worry about it. How's your day been, Jason?
Good. So I don't know if you said this already. I can only be on for 15 minutes.
No, we're actually glad we were able to get you at all. We understand. But we're on the topic of the NBA trade deadline. And there's some big ones. Brady, why don't you fill us in on some of the biggest trades that have happened today and over the last few days?
Yeah. So some of the ones that stood out to me, there's obviously been a lot, but I feel like Victor Oladipo being traded to the Heat is one of the biggest trades that went down.
That's huge. Yep.
I think that's going to help that Heat team a lot. People forget how good Victor Oladipo is. I feel like he was just in a really bad situation in Houston. He was injured a lot and had no one around him, but I feel like he's going to be huge on that Heat team. And not to mention, the Heat didn't have to get rid of much to get him. They were able to keep Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero, and a lot of people were thinking that for the Heat to make a move, they would have to get rid of at least one of those guys. So they still kept kind of their young core together. Obviously, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo still there. So I think the Heat are maybe the biggest winner of the trade deadline. We got Aaron Gordon to the Denver Nuggets. And I'm not too sure how I feel about this trade. I think Denver had to get rid of Gary Harris, who's been just a bench player. I think most of the time he's Denver's sixth man coming off the bench. So they lose that, but they do gain a phenomenal athletic talent in Aaron Gordon. So I guess, what do you guys think about these couple of trades? You can speak on either one of them. Kellen, go ahead.
Yeah. So first of all, I actually think I agree with you, Brady. The Victor Oladipo trade to from the Rockets to the Heat just makes sense to me. I feel like Victor Oladipo, he's one of those guys that's very athletic, and he's got a great motor to him. And plus, he has a lot of experience, and when he's healthy, he's shown that he can play at a really high level. I feel like the Heat are going to be able to use him in a limited role. Like, he's not going to have to force himself to do too much, but just use his God-given athletic ability to help that team go from being a good team to a great team. I think some of the other moves that surprised me, Aaron Gordon to the Denver Nuggets, that's a huge pickup for the Nuggets. Like, I feel like what they needed was a freaky athletic slasher type player, and that's what they got in Aaron Gordon. So that's a big pickup. And then obviously I think Rajon Rondo to the Clippers is another big move, because I feel like he's a guy with crazy high basketball IQ. He's obviously one of those fringe Hall of Famers. Had an absolutely phenomenal career, and he has a lot of experience, a lot of finals experience. Won an NBA championship last year with the Lakers. Now he's going to their nemesis, the Clippers. That'll be big. I just have one question for Jason, though. Jason, we were right before you got on, the news broke, and me, Mike, and Brady were talking about it. What's your reaction to the Utah Jazz trading Rudy Gobert to the Chicago Bulls?
That's funny.
What?
Did you not hear that?
What?
You didn't hear that?
What? No, you guys are full of poop.
Yeah. Jazz got Zach LaVine.
Second round draft picks, plus they get Zach LaVine.
What? You guys are full of it. I'm gonna say, I looked at the Jazz newsreel like 10 minutes ago before I got on.
Oh, that was good. What are your reactions to the trades? Which trades do you like?
Honestly, I'm really excited about the Oladipo trade. Jimmy Butler needed a little bit of help, and he got it. If Oladipo can play at the level he's capable of, they turn into an Eastern Conference Finals contender. I don't think they'll make it to the finals, but they can make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And so that's a really big pickup for them. Now, in the East, minus the Nets and the Bucks occasionally are not that great of a conference. So that pickup is huge for them. Some of the others, it's good to see moving around. I'm intrigued to see what Rondo does for the Clippers, and how he does in that role. The one, I don't know if we talked about it much, but hey, Blake Griffin hasn't looked too bad for the Nets. That turned out to be a really good pickup for them as well.
Yeah.
except for last night.
I didn't watch.
The Jazz looked freaking good.
They won by like 30. They were up by like 40 at one point.
Dang. Can I just say I am so excited to go to that game tomorrow night?
That will be fun.
Yeah. It's going to be so much.
Here's another story.
Hey, I feel like we're missing one of the biggest trades of them all, and that is the Magic traded Nikola Vucevic to the Chicago Bulls. And I was kind of thinking, I was like, well, maybe that's not a huge trade. I mean, it's big for the Magic, but the Chicago Bulls just got an all-star who's playing really, really well right now, and they're adding him with Zach LaVine, who's also phenomenal. I feel like this makes the Bulls a lot better, which I know the Victor Oladipo trade is really big. I mean, he's going to help out the Heat a lot, but I feel like this one also changes the Bulls.
Vucevic might be the most underrated player in the NBA. Like, he was an all-star, but, like, the dude's averaging almost 25 a game and almost 12 rebounds a game. Like, this guy is a really good basketball player. He's been phenomenal for the Magic this year. And, yeah, I know what you're saying, Mike. Like, I think that he's going to help the Bulls out a lot. I think his skill set actually will fit in. I'll go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I agree that Vucevic is a good player, but I think the Bulls are still going to kind of suck. They played the Jazz the other night, and I understand they have Vucevic now, but their problems are a lot deeper than just not having an all-star center. I feel like Vucevic is a good player, and he will help them, but I still wouldn't expect too much from the Bulls. They pretty much have Zach LaVine and now Vucevic, and they don't have much else on that roster. So I still don't see the Bulls as being a contender in the East. I see them as even being a playoff team, but I do agree Vucevic is a good player.
It's just hard not to be a player. It's almost harder not to be a playoff team in the East. Like, if you look at the standings.
That's kind of the beauty of it. If you pick up one guy, you almost change the whole dynamic of your team enough to put you into a playoff situation. It's kind of depressing on that side of the country right now.
That's true. Well, maybe I spoke too soon. The East is bad.
The sad thing is they're only like a game and a half behind the Boston Celtics for the 8th seed. So, like, I don't know. Maybe they'll get to the playoffs.
It'll be close, I think.
I feel like with picking up Vucevic, they will. But maybe I feel like we said the East is weak enough. I think that with Vucevic, maybe could get into the playoffs.
Potentially. What's wrong with your Celtics, Mike?
They just suck. I don't know what's wrong with them. I'm so frustrated. I haven't watched the past few games. I've been busy when they've been on, but I've watched some highlights and stuff, and they are just, I don't know, they're just choking. They played really good against. They played really good with the Bucks last night. They lost by 2. They had a chance to win, but then they play a team like the Cavaliers and just get down by like 30 points and then try and come back and win. And it's so frustrating to watch. So I don't know what their problem is. I was a little disappointed with their trade, like the trade deadline as well. I was hoping they'd maybe make a move to have someone who could help improve their team. And they picked up, how do you pronounce his name, Brady?
I can't even remember his name right now.
No, the guy from the Magic. I said Frontier, and that's definitely not right. Evans.
Oh, Evan Fournier.
They picked up Evan Fournier, and he's been averaging like 17 points a game, but I really don't think – I think they'll make the playoffs, but they won't go much farther than that.
Yeah. Couple more things that a little bit surprising. A lot of people thought Kyle Lowry was going to be getting traded from the Raptors. He will not be leaving Toronto. Pelicans held on to Lonzo Ball, much to the dismay of never lost LeVar Ball. Big Baller brand. This is our plug for the Big Baller brand. By the way, if you can't afford our $4,000 shoes, you ain't no big baller. So, JJ Redick is going to Dallas. Ooh. I actually really like that move by the Mavericks. I think having another guy that's just a pure shooter is going to be really good for him. Plus, he has that veteran leadership.
I'm intrigued to see the dynamic between him and Doncic, to be to be honest. I think that'll be a really interesting combo.
I agree with that. But I feel like Doncic is like you could put a lot of players, like most players, with Doncic, and he would make them better, and they would make him better.
The thing about Redick, though, is Redick's a really good system player. So if they can put a system that he works in, he'll complement Doncic in a way that it'll just make him better. So that was a really good pickup for them.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't really see any.
Just one more thing. It's not official, but I did see the Heat are also leading. That it hasn't been signed yet, but to get LaMarcus Aldridge.
I saw that too.
They just bought. He's still with the Spurs, right? I haven't watched the Spurs in so long. Yeah. The Spurs bought out his contract, so he's a free agent, and they're saying the Heat are leading in signing him. So we'll see what happens.
Do you guys think LaMarcus Aldridge's drop in production and performance was a direct correlation from leaving Portland?
Maybe a little bit.
Because he just never seemed to get it together in San Antonio.
Yeah,
I don't think
I feel like.
Yeah, go ahead, Brady.
I was just gonna say I feel like he left a system that he was comfortable with in Portland. He was there for a long time, but I also think that age has a little bit to do with it. I feel like he might be starting to decline. He's definitely getting older, so I think that has at least as much to do with it, maybe even more than the different system in San Antonio.
Yeah, and I don't think he'll be a huge game changer for the Heat because he is getting older, but he'd still be I feel like a decent pickup for the Heat, like a backup center for Bam.
Yeah, I don't know, like, and I actually feel like if you look at his San Antonio years, it's not like he's been bad. I mean, he's averaged close to 20 points in almost every season. Last year, 18.9. Year before, 21.3. Year before that, 23.1. Like, I feel like it hasn't been as much. I just feel like, first of all, San Antonio is a small market team, and the face of but the thing is the face of the franchise is their coach. It's hard to be getting a lot of attention when the face of your franchise is your coach. I don't know, man. Like, the Spurs aren't even like a terrible team, like, even now. But
are they going to make the playoffs this year, though?
I mean, potentially. That's the thing. This year's, I feel like there's top tier teams, and there's not very many middle tier teams. I feel like you're either top tier or you're low tier.
Yeah. So right now, let me refresh this because it was from a couple days ago.
The Spurs are currently 8th.
Yeah,
in the West,
but they're sliding because a week ago they were 7th. So we'll see. I mean, the Warriors could get hot. They're not far behind. The Grizzlies are only a game behind. So we'll see. But that's the difference. As if I feel like if the Spurs were in the Eastern Conference, they would be
dominating.
Seed. So that's I'm sorry, Spurs.
They deserve it.
I'm not gonna lie. The Spurs were like the Patriots of the NBA for a long time, so it doesn't hurt my feelings to see them losing every once in a while.
Me neither. I'm glad to see it.
The Spurs are like a phenomenal. It's like I don't know. Like, I feel like Greg Popovich may. I mean, we kind of sleep on him. I feel like we forget about him sometimes, but like, he's definitely been the best coach of our era.
Yeah,
your era.
I think that's safe to say.
My era, not your era, Jason.
I was gonna say I have Phil Jackson, so
yeah.
That beats him.
So I love you guys, but I've got to go.
Is Bronco there? We got to wish Bronco happy birthday.
Was that really loud on there? Sorry.
Yeah.
That was pretty loud.
I'm pretty sure I just burst my eardrum.
I'm sorry, Mike.
Mike will never be the same again.
What is this?
You literally just broke
Hey,
Mike's heart.
go for a minute. Bye. Okay.
Hi.
Bronco.
Hi.
Hey,
What up?
he's USA too. Look at that.
We want to wish Bronco a happy 6th birthday. He is 6 years old today.
You're 9?
9 years old.
9 years old.
Kellen's never
Shout
been
out.
very good with numbers.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bronco for his 12th birthday.
You're
9.
close,
His
though.
9th birthday. Happy birthday, Bronco. We're excited to hang out with you tomorrow, and we love you, man.
Happy birthday.
Peace.
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 All right.
All right.
We'll see you,
Love
Jason.
guys. Oh, in case you need it, my C-squared moment of the day is we're going to the Jazz game tomorrow. All right. Woo! All right. See you guys.
All right. See ya.
All right.
My dog Josie looks like really concerned from Jason's yelling.
Oh, no. Probably just
Anyways.
traumatized Josie.
Yeah, probably we're gonna traumatize Josie. We're gonna jump into some college basketball now. We obviously last time we had a lot to talk about when it came to college basketball in the tournament, but right now I just want to talk about the Sweet 16 and preview the games that we've seen so far. So obviously everybody knows about the upsets. Everybody knows about, the crazy things that have happened. But there's some games that I really want to preview. So we're going to start off, first of all, with the Gonzaga-Creighton game. I want to hear your guys' predictions and thoughts. We'll start off with Prison Mike.
Okay, so I feel like this is a pretty easy choice. Gonzaga is the best team in the country. They've looked really good so far in the tournament. And Creighton did not look good in their first game. And they dominated in their second, but I feel like you still have to pick Gonzaga to win this game. I do not think Creighton is deep enough. I know they do not hardly play anyone off the bench. I think they have like a 6-man rotation, maybe only 7. So I just don't think they have the depth to stick with Gonzaga.
Yeah. Brady?
I just completely echo what Mike said. Creighton, just like Mike said, their first game they were rough. They shot lights out in their second game, but going against Gonzaga is a whole another beast. And I think you'd be crazy to say that Creighton is going to pull up the upset against Gonzaga.
Yeah. No, I agree. This Gonzaga team is so tough. 3 of the top 10 players in the country play for Gonzaga. So, I think that's kind of a no-brainer. I think they're going to win it by 20 points. Like, I think they'll win it by 20 plus. So next round we have – this is honestly, in my opinion, the game that I might be more excited for this game than any other game, and that's USC against Oregon. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. We'll start off with Brady.
All right. I agree with you. I think this will be a really exciting game. Both teams have looked phenomenal so far, just completely dominant. Granted, Oregon didn't play the first week, but still, they definitely looked dominant in that second game that they played. I don't know who's going to win this one. I'm going to go probably the opposite way that you guys are going to go, and I'm going to say Oregon pulls off the dub.
Okay. Mike?
Good pick. I think Brady had pretty much everything good. This is a really athletic, tall USC team, and Oregon, surprisingly, I did not think that they would beat Iowa like how they did. They handled Iowa very thoroughly the whole game. So, and they couldn't slow down Luka Garza, but they slowed down the rest of the team. So they play some pretty good, solid defense.
Luka Garza is the team, Mike.
He pretty much is the team. but I'm going to go against Brady and pick USC to win this matchup.
Ooh, that makes me the tiebreaker. You know what?
Yep.
I was able to watch Oregon though, and I'll tell you what, Oregon surprised me. Oregon surprised me. But I'll tell you what, this USC team, they looked so dominant. And I'll tell you what, there's one thing about getting hot, in a game, but then there's some teams that that it just seems like USC is like a tournament style team, right? Like it seems like they can handle a lot of different systems, and they match up well with a lot of different teams. And so yeah, I'm actually going to go with USC in this one. I think they're going to beat Oregon, but I do think it's going to be close. One thing that has to be taken into account is they're in the same conference, so they've played each other a couple times already this year.
I'm interested to see who won. Does anyone know?
We could find out. I mean,
I'll do some research. We can keep going.
Yeah, but no, I mean, really excited for that one. We'll move on to the next game, Michigan versus Florida State. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. I'll start off. Yeah, so I'm actually gonna call an upset here. And I actually do think Michigan's a good team, but I just feel like Florida State's looked really good this tournament. I mean, I think that Colorado impressed me big time when they played Georgetown. And then Florida State absolutely dismantled Colorado. I think going up against Michigan, I feel like they have the intensity and the athleticism to actually pull off the upset here. Plus, you got to pick upsets every once in a while, and so I feel confident about this one. I'm going to go with Florida State over Michigan. Mike?
So just so we know, Oregon and USC only played once in the season. One of their games was postponed, but okay. USC won by 14. So I don't know. It'll be a good matchup. And as far as the Michigan Florida State game, that is a tough decision because I agree with you. I feel like you have to pick some upsets. But I think I'm still going to stick with Michigan. They haven't looked the greatest, but they've gotten by when it matters.
Yeah.
They
haven't looked bad.
To win at the game. I think it will be a close game no matter what, but I do think Michigan State will pull it off. Not Michigan State, sorry, Michigan.
Brady?
Cool. All right, I guess I'm the tiebreaker on this one. And as much as I want to say Michigan's going to win because I really like Michigan and I really like Juwan Howard, their head coach, I feel like Michigan, I feel like they're the weakest of the number one seeds. And I know Illinois already lost, but I feel like going into the tournament, that's what I thought was Michigan was the weakest of the number one seeds. And I agree with Kellen. I feel like Florida State looks really good. And Michigan hasn't looked bad, but they haven't looked near as clean as Florida State has. So for that reason, I'm going to pick Florida State with the upset here.
Yeah. All right. And then we're now going to move on to the next game, which is UCLA versus Alabama. We'll have Mike go first.
This will be a fun game, too, because UCLA's looked really good, actually, in the tournament, surprisingly. And they won 3 games in, what would it have been, in 5 days. So they had to play a lot. And they've looked good. Alabama is also a phenomenal team. They're fun to watch. They put up a lot of threes. I'm going to stick with Alabama. I'm not picking an upset on this side of the bracket. I think Alabama is a good enough team that they will be able to withstand any of the runs that UCLA throws at them. So that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, Brady?
I feel like UCLA's magic is going to run out a little bit against Alabama. They've definitely looked phenomenal so far, but Alabama hasn't shown any reason or hasn't shown that they look like they're going to be beat. And I love Alabama's head coach. We've already talked about him a lot. And just the fact that he pulls people out of the game and yells at them if they take mid-range jump shots, I think is awesome. He's like, you shoot threes or you dunk it or lay it in the paint. So I think the genius of Alabama's head coach will lead them over UCLA. And I think UCLA is going to go a little bit cold against Alabama. I feel like you can't keep up the way they've been playing for that long.
Yeah, I do. First of all, let me just say I think this is going to be an incredibly close game. Like I think this is going to be a very close game. But I'm actually going to go with Alabama as well, just because of that same reason. I feel like UCLA has gotten really hot last week, but I feel like against Alabama, I feel like the way that Alabama plays the game and the pace they play with, just the fact that they're such a high volume 3-point shooting team, but they also have the ability to get to the rim. I'm going to take Alabama in this game over UCLA, and I think the magic runs out there. Moving on to the other side of the bracket, Baylor versus Villanova. Brady, what are your thoughts?
Ooh, I think for this one, first of all, I didn't expect Villanova to make it this far. I thought they'd be beat out first round, but they shut me up and they moved on and won another game after that. But I think that this Baylor team is too good. I don't think that Villanova is going to get past them, so I am going with Baylor in this one.
Yeah, I agree with Brady. I don't feel like there's much more to say. Villanova's they've surprised me by winning these two games, but I feel like the two injuries that they've had with their big players are going to really hurt them against a team like Baylor that is so solid. So I'm also going to stick with Baylor.
Yeah. I'm gonna echo that exact same sentiment just because they've been dominant all season. I mean, they had some problems with COVID, and Jason brought this up. Like, people started sleeping on Baylor because of their COVID problems, and they lost a couple games. I think Baylor could very well end up in the national championship. I think they're actually going to have a pretty easy time at Villanova. I could be wrong, but that's just my prediction. Obviously, I don't think they're going to have too much troubles there picking up that win. And then moving on, I'll just give my prediction first. Arkansas versus Oral Roberts. Dude, there's no way. There's no way I'm picking Arkansas. No. I hate to say it. I love Oral Roberts. They're like my favorite team to watch. They have been my favorite team to watch this tournament. And watching a 15 seed go to the Sweet 16 has been like so satisfying. But Arkansas is tough, man. That's a very good team. And I'm gonna say Arkansas is gonna end the magic of Oral Roberts. But I would love to be wrong. Mike?
I want Brady to go first.
All right.
Do you want to go, Brady? I want to hear what you have
to
say. Yeah, go ahead, Brady.
All right. So, I think, call me crazy, but I think Oral Roberts is going to keep it alive here. I feel like Arkansas is a good team, but I feel like they haven't looked phenomenal, and I feel like they can be beaten. And I feel like Oral Roberts just kind of has something going right now. They have the top scorer in the country who's shown that he's a great closer at the end of games. What?
Abmas, isn't that his name?
Yeah, I can't even really pronounce it. But he's shown that he can close games when they come tight. You saw that first game against Ohio State. He was just going down and scoring every single possession down towards the end of the game. So I feel like if it comes down to a close game, I give Oral Roberts the win here, and I think Oral Roberts is going to shock the world and upset Arkansas.
All right, so a 15 seed has never made it to the Elite Eight, and I think it is not going to happen. I don't know. I was debating really hard on this because if there's a 15 seed who could do it, it'd be Oral Roberts.
But you want it to happen. I want it to happen.
But logically, I just don't feel like I could pick it. And Arkansas, they do have some weaknesses, but they have a solid player. I believe his name's Moses Moody, if I remember right, who's going to be, I would assume he'll be a top 10 pick in the draft. At least top 15, I would guess. And so I'm the games, looking at the past game scores, like roughly they score, the games that they've won have been around the same amount. But I think Arkansas is going to get this one. Oral Roberts had an amazing run, but they're not going to make history by going farther.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the other side of the bracket. Guys, this one's crazy. Loyola Chicago, Oregon State. Brady, thoughts?
Oh, both these teams I feel like have been two of the more impressive teams in the tournament. Oregon State's looked awesome in every game they've played. They definitely showed that they're amazing when they beat Oklahoma State in that last one. But I can't pick against Loyola Chicago right now. I feel like they've been kind of the surprise of the tournament, or at least one of them. I guess you got to say Oral Roberts is the surprise, but Loyola Chicago is one of those teams that I have a lot of faith in, and I could see them going to the Final Four, maybe even the national championship. So I'm going Loyola Chicago in this one.
I love that. Mike?
All right, so I'm going to pick against Brady on this one. They have looked really good. I got to remember how to say the name. Loyola Chicago has looked really, really good, and I think that they do have some tournament experience, but Oregon State has been playing really well. I mean, they went from the worst team in their conference to winning the conference championship and now winning these two games. I feel like they've turned it on at the right point, and I think they're going to get the win over Ola Chicago.
Mike, you just offended a 103-year-old woman. I hope you know that.
Sister Jean.
Sister Jean's gonna forget to say her prayer before the game, and they're gonna lose.
Dude. Can we just talk about that? In her prayer, not only is she's like, "We bless it, we'll win." She's like, "We know this team has problems with this, and this. Help us to capitalize on these mistakes." It's like, dude, Sister Jean watches basketball. Dude, like, she knows
the analytics.
Oh, man. I love me some Sister Jean. And I'll tell you what, Oregon State has looked great, but I am not betting against Loyola Chicago, man. Like, first of all, they should have probably been better than an 8 seed. Like, they deserved better than an 8 seed, I think, in this tournament. Maybe not much better, but like a 6 seed at least. But dude, Cameron Krutwig, we talked about him last time. Telling you what, my boy Cameron Krutwig is the guy who looks like a freaking French chef. He is not gonna lose. They're going to the Elite Eight, man. They're freaking going to the Elite Eight. I'm calling it now. And heck, they're gonna go to the Final Four.
Heck yeah.
All right. Then the last game is Syracuse versus Houston. What are your guys' thoughts? Mike.
It's Boeheim time, baby. I think they're going to – Buddy Boeheim and his Papa Boeheim, man. Those two are taking Syracuse to the Elite Eight, I think. I don't know. I don't know why. I haven't watched Houston play all this year, and so I picked them to lose in every game. I picked them to get beat by Cleveland State in the first round. Yeah. So I'm sticking with it. They're going to get beat. One of the big things is I did watch Houston's last game, and one of their best players got injured. He was still playing, and like the announcers were saying he was like the greatest player ever pretty much, which was making me mad. But I think he might still be a little bit hobbled for this game. And I mean, Buddy Boeheim looks unstoppable. So I'm giving Syracuse the win. It's going to be a 12th seed and an 11th seed in that Elite Eight side of the bracket.
Dude, you know what though? Like, I don't hate that. Like, that doesn't bother me that you made those picks, because I feel like Syracuse is gonna win that game. I don't know why. I know Houston's a 2 seed. I have no reason to bet against Houston other than it's just like a gut feeling, and I like me some Buddy Boeheim. Plus, Jim Boeheim is one of the greatest college basketball coaches ever, so you know he's gonna have his team ready for this one. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Syracuse. Like, you're gonna see an 11 seed, an 8 seed, playing each other, or a 12 seed. But yeah, I'm telling you what, that's gonna be a nutso matchup in the Elite Eight. Brady,
I'm really up in the air on this one. I do not like Syracuse at all.
No, I don't either, but I just want me some
I feel like
Boeheim
Buddy
magic.
Boeheim. I told Mike that I have like something against like rich-looking white kids that play college basketball. I like hate them all. So watching Buddy Boeheim, I'm like, oh, this dude, that's torturing him. I feel like I'm gonna go with Houston. I'm gonna go opposite of you guys. I feel like the way that Syracuse plays, they're great defensively. Jim Boeheim is known for that famous zone defense, and it really wreaked havoc against West Virginia. But I feel like offensively, they rely a lot on that three-point bucket by Buddy Boeheim. I can't remember the name of their point guard, but he's a lights-out shooter too, and that's what he does. And I feel like Syracuse is going to go cold, or not, maybe not completely cold, but colder than they have been this tournament. And I feel like Houston's going to find a way to pull that one off.
Yeah, I don't mind that pick.
Yeah.
I don't mind that pick. We're gonna move on.
I'm really excited for the games, though. I'm excited to watch them.
Great games.
We had some topics we aren't going to be able to get to, but we got to get on this one just because it is coming up on Saturday. Something that I know Brady especially has been super excited about since this fight was even announced. And this is UFC 260. So we did 259, UFC 259 preview. We did a bunch of stuff for the last one. And it was awesome. Like we absolutely loved doing it. I feel like this one we haven't maybe felt as much hype about, but which is kind of dumb because I feel like this title fight has the potential to be so much better than anything we've seen this year between Stipe Miocic and Francis Ngannou. So let's just dive into it, Brady. Let me hear your thoughts.
All right. Like you said, I'm super excited for this fight. This is a fight that a lot of people have overlooked because of UFC 259, but now we've got this awesome card. And Stipe Miocic is definitely one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. I feel like he's one of the most just humble, best dudes who just is straight business, just wants to win fights. And I know a lot of people are really hyped on Francis Ngannou, and rightfully so. The dude's just a freak, a specimen. And I feel like you can't overlook Stipe. I know Kellen and I have talked a lot about this just in the past. And Stipe, even though he's the heavyweight champion of the world and arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time, it seems like just about every single fight he has, he's the underdog going into the fight, and he still manages to come out and win. So I have a terrible track record in betting, or not betting, but in guessing who's going to win fights so far. I feel like I pick the wrong person every time. But I'm feeling Stipe in this one. I feel like he's going to be able to stay out of, or he's not going to be caught by any of Francis Ngannou's big punches that he throws. And I feel like Stipe is going to take it all 5 rounds and he will win by decision. That's my prediction.
Yeah. Okay. Mike?
So I'm also really excited for this fight because Dana White called me yesterday and said that I get a title shot at whoever wins this fight. I get to fight him next.
I was actually going to ask you that.
Yeah.
You're going to have to cut weight to get down to heavyweight, though. That's the problem, Mike.
I know that's the problem. I'm actually going to be about 100 pounds under the actual weight that you have to be.
You can do that. You're gonna get the flyweight belt and the heavyweight belt.
I could hold every belt in the UFC at once if I really wanted to. But no, I don't know a whole lot about the fight like usual. I don't know too much about UFC. But one thing that made me excited for the fight is Brady was telling me today that Francis Ngannou has the hardest recorded hit ever. Is that right, Brady? Is that what you were telling me? And what was the statistic? It's like getting hit by a.
I can't remember the exact statistic, but it's like getting hit by, I believe it's some Toyota car traveling like 35 miles an hour, I believe is what it was.
Yeah, so that's insane that someone can hit that hard. And I really, I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. And I do not know who to guess in this like for who's going to win this fight, I feel like I'm worse than Brady. I don't think I've ever guessed a single fight right. So just for the sake, because I want Brady to like actually have not Francis. I want to see Stipe win. I'm gonna say that Francis Ngannou is going to, because then maybe like reverse logic and Stipe will get the W. But I'll pick Francis Ngannou to win.
Solid.
You know, Mike. Yeah, me and Brady have talked about this fight a lot, and a lot of it just comes down to Stipe Miocic is an absolute legend, and he himself has said, "I may not be the scariest, but I'm the baddest." And I believe him when he says that. But I will say this: Francis Ngannou is the scariest. like we have arguably the baddest versus the scariest fighter I think I've ever seen. Like Francis Ngannou, 6'4", 260, muscle. Just pure muscle, man. This guy is a beast. He hits so hard. I've seen him knock guys out going backwards. I've seen him land shots that, that it doesn't even look like he's throwing them with that much power, and they just absolutely rock these heavyweights. That being said, I can't bet against Stipe Miocic in this fight because Stipe Miocic is so balanced. I mean, he's a fighter who he doesn't really have very many holes. His wrestling is solid, his striking is solid, his defense is solid, and he has fought some of the best around, and he's beaten them. He just doesn't lose these big fights, And so I'm gonna go with Stipe. Plus, I really like the guy. I mean, the dude's a firefighter. The dude's a firefighter.
How can you not like him?
He is the most. He's almost got like a gladiator type like elegance to him. I don't know what it is, but he's almost got like a nobleness to him. And I'll tell you what, Stipe Miocic is gonna beat Ngannou. But I will say this about this fight. I don't think this fight ends in decision. I think someone will be knocked out. That's my prediction. I do think someone will be knocked out. I think Stipe will catch Ngannou, or Ngannou will catch Stipe.
Nice. So pumped.
Oh, but there's some good fights on this card. So Tyron Woodley is going to be fighting Ucla. His name? I don't know who he is. I probably should know who he is, but I don't. He's going to be fighting. Do you guys know who Tyron Woodley is?
Yeah.
So Vicente Luque. So yeah. For those who don't really follow MMA, Tyron Woodley he's a welterweight fighter, former UFC champion, defended his belt a couple times too. He actually was champion from 2016 till 2019 when he lost to Kamaru Usman. He's lost 3 fights in a row. He lost to Usman, Gilbert Burns, and Covington. But that's like, if you look at it, Kamaru Usman, Gilbert Burns, and Kobe Covington, those are like 3 of the top 5 fighters in that division. So this is a huge fight for Woodley because if he can get this win over Vicente Luque, who, by the way, Luque is a phenomenal fighter in his own right. But if he can get this win, that'll be really big in terms of getting him back on track for winning a title. And then obviously the fight that I'm really excited, another fight I'm really excited about is Sean O'Malley. Sugar Sean O'Malley. Like a couple months ago, this dude was freaking – this guy was like one of the biggest names in the UFC, and everybody was talking about how he was going to become a UFC champion. He's like he's the guy with like the rainbow colored hair, Mike. You know, the one that you're like, what is wrong? Yeah. He lost one fight. It was due to injury. But I'm really excited about that fight, and I think that it's going to be a good one too. I think we're in for a really good night of UFC. We're going to be watching that fight, Buffalo Wild Wings. That's what we're doing. Then we won't be doing any like a special preview analysis like we did last time, but we will be talking about the fights next week, and we'll have a lot of stuff to report on. We're really excited for everything that's going on in UFC. Here's my question, though, guys. When is John Jones fighting the winner of this fight?
I'm gonna say July or August. That's my guess.
Mike?
I have no clue. I don't know how long it usually takes him to heal. Like 6 months, probably. So I'd say, yeah, maybe October.
I think July or August. You're going to see a summer fight. John Jones is going to be ready to go. I just have one more UFC question. Did we bring it up last time? I think we did bring it up. So obviously, Habib Nurmagomedov has retired, right? Like he's done. He is no longer going to be fighting. Even Dana White acknowledged that, and that's a big story. But I think that even a bigger story is that the title fight for that division has already been announced, and it is going to be. So, Mike, you talked about your guy, your favorite
Michael
fighter,
Chandler, baby.
Michael Chandler. Yep.
He's getting a fight.
Yeah. Michael Chandler will be fighting Charles Oliveira on May 15th, and that will be for the vacant title. So there's going to be a lot of news. I don't know about you guys. I loved Habib, but I will say this. I feel like right now what's going on in the UFC is not a bad thing, and that's that some of the guys that have been superstars for a long time are kind of like losing that status. And now we're going to start to see some new names come up, and I think that's actually really cool. So,
I definitely feel like the Michael Chandler fight, though, is just one of those two will win it, and then they'll probably have is Dustin Poirier, and then McGregor will fight Dustin Poirier. McGregor will get like one fight in between this, and then he'll get a shot at the title again against Dustin Poirier. I feel like is what's going to happen.
One person that I feel like is being overlooked in that division a little bit, and I think it's a really competitive division, but I feel like people are kind of forgetting about Justin Gaethje. He lost to Habib, and I actually watched an interview where they were interviewing Gaethje yesterday just in his gym, and he was saying, like, I don't know if I made someone mad or anything, but I've heard, like, nothing from the UFC, and I have no idea when my next fight is. And he's like, I kind of feel like I'm being looked over right now. But he did lose his last fight, but it was to the greatest fighter of all time. So I feel like he's got to be in the mix there too, along with Poirier and Chandler and all those guys.
Well, and that's just it. Like, I totally agree with you, Brady. Like, I like Michael Chandler, and I feel like Michael Chandler deserves a shot for the belt eventually. But those are the fourth and fifth, like, best fighters. Like, they're, like, Oliveira's ranked fourth in division, and Michael Chandler's ranked fifth in the division. And Dustin Poirier just came off of a huge win over Conor McGregor. Justin Gaethje, his last fight he lost to the best fighter arguably of all time. I just feel like those two deserve a shot. Like in my opinion, it should be Poirier Gaethje. And they've fought before. I believe Poirier knocked Gaethje out. But I feel like Gaethje's done enough to where he deserves another title shot. I mean, maybe let Oliveira and Chandler fight for the belt, but I think Gaethje and Poirier deserve a shot. Put Gaethje against McGregor. Maybe let Gaethje fight McGregor. Let Poirier fight the next, whoever wins the belt, and then Gaethje can fight whoever wins next. Like I just feel like there's options there. And I feel like, Gaethje's kind of been looked over.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I just feel like they gave Michael Chandler and the other dude a fight just to, like, have someone take the belt, and then they can turn around and fight one of those guys. Like, I feel like whoever wins this fight for the title between Michael Chandler and the other guy is only going to hold the belt for one fight, and then they'll lose it to one of those guys probably.
I just kind of – I get why I just feel like Michael Chandler, that was his first fight in the UFC, and it's going to be an awesome fight, don't get me wrong, but I feel like I wish it would have been like Justin Gaethje in his place or something and have Michael Chandler maybe fight another one before the belt.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
That's the thing, though, is like, and I thought when Poirier fought McGregor, it was basically like, all right, one of these guys, they're fighting to get a chance to fight for the belt once it's completely vacated.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't really understand the logic behind it. I feel like Poirier could probably fight in a month if he really wanted to. And obviously it's about getting in shape and things like that. But I guess we'll see what happens there. And I'm excited to watch, what happens in that division because I feel like that middleweight division now that Khabib's gone is like wide open. Because I feel like Conor McGregor had a bad fight against Poirier, but a primed Conor McGregor mixed in with Poirier and Gaethje and Chandler and Oliveira, when they're all healthy and they're all in peak condition, man, there's not a lot of I feel like that's pretty even in terms of talent in that division. So we're out of time. We're just going to jump into our C-squared moment of the day. We'll start things off with Prison Mike. Why don't you give us your C-squared moment of the day?
My C-squared moment of the day. Trying to think. So mine's right along the lines with Jason. I'm excited to go to the game tomorrow. I'm excited to go watch the Jazz, but I told Brady this. I really, really hope that Grayson Allen plays because he was my favorite college basketball player that I've ever watched. And I went to a summer league game to watch him play when he got drafted by the Jazz, and they sat him that game. He didn't even play. And I was so disappointed. So I'm really hoping – I know he's not on the Jazz, but I'm really hoping Grayson Allen plays tomorrow just so I can watch him play. That's what I'm really excited about.
Oh, Mike, you know what? For your sake, I hope he gets to play too.
Yeah, he started last game for the Grizzlies, so I'm just hoping they don't sit him or he is injured or something or gets COVID.
I
don't even
he's
care
gonna
if he
play.
starts. I don't even care if he starts. I just want to see him play.
He's gonna play. He's gonna play. Brady, what's your C-squared moment of the day?
Ooh, my C-squared moment of the day. I'm just going to have to not be original at all. And just the fact that we're going to Salt Lake, not only to watch the Jazz game, but also to go to the fights that night. I feel like I'm about equally excited for both those things. Maybe a little more excited for the Jazz game just because it's in person, but super excited for the fights as well in an atmosphere that's going to be awesome. So it's just going to be a good weekend.
Yeah. My C-squared moment of the day. Michaela! I realized something really cool my dog can do. Michaela! Where's Josie? Okay, I'm going to grab her real quick. I'm going to grab my dog. I'll be back in a second.
All right. I'm interested to see what this is.
Me too. I feel like she's gonna spin in a circle or give him a high five. Maybe
do a little dance or something.
Ready?
Yep.
B-U-F-F-S. Boss, boss, boss. She's
a Buffaloes fan.
Yes, but we are
You're raising her right.
That's my C-squared moment of the day. that my puppy can do that. So, we're gonna wrap things up. We'll be back next week, either on Monday or Tuesday. Look forward to uploading content that you guys can like, subscribe, and share. Signing off, this is the Crimson Comment.
Lazy Snake.
And Prison Mike.
And remember,
G.